All right. We should be live. We should be good to go. Let me just double check here. Okay, yep, we're good to go. All right. So, to start off today, I'm going to say that the NPC update will most likely be pushed back to probably around this time, 3 to 3:30-ish. I can't guarantee that, but it's getting pushed back due to the fact that more information just simply comes out as the day progresses. And if it's a lackluster news day, I can always fall back on the Alberta Assembly or something going on, because obviously the separation talk right now is still very heated there. Even though Danielle Smith, time and time again, has said she's going to try and do everything in her best interest to keep Alberta as a part of Canada and keep everybody together, united. But she's also going to serve the people of Alberta. So if that's what they want and that's what they vote for, she's going to obviously please the people. Simple as that. But yeah, that is still a very, very heated subject in the Legislative Assembly of Alberta. So we will be watching that. Federal stuff, though. Mark Carney signs another fake executive order, this time for a so-called middle-class tax cut. I find it hilarious. He's doing these Trump-style executive order, like little pressers or whatever you want to call them, with the news, with mainstream media, after bashing Trump for months and months on end. And we saw earlier today, or was it yesterday, the power play, the CTV power play. Bashy literally just annihilated Carney for almost 30 minutes straight, calling him out. I thought that was pretty good stuff coming from her there. Typically, she's very harsh on the conservatives, but she actually went for Carney in that interview, that one-on-one there. So I guess I'll give respect when it's where it's due, but you can't always trust the mainstream legacy media. Anyway, though, Carney, here we have him doing this Trump-style executive order.
Canadians sent a clear message that they need to see improvements in their affordability. We promised a middle-class tax cut leading to over $800 of savings for two-income households. We're acting today on that so that by July 1st, as promised, that middle-class tax cut that will reduce taxes for the 22 million Canadians who pay federal income taxes, that tax cut will take into effect. We're acting on affordability as we look to build out this economy. It's my pleasure on behalf of the Cabinet to sign this order to deliver that tax cut et respecter nos engagements, notre engagement pour les Canadiens et les Canadiens. Thank you very much.
So, I don't think any prime minister has ever done this. I could be wrong, but I don't think a prime minister has ever sat down and signed executive, air quotations, executive orders like this. He's only doing it because Trump does it. I don't think many presidents have done that. Maybe they'll do one or two, but Trump is known for doing it. He's known for sitting there and just signing one after another. This is hilarious. Trudeau did it? Trudeau did it as well? Okay, so I was wrong there. I've never seen a prime minister actually do this, but I find it absolutely hilarious that for months and months on end, he ran on just bashing Trump, and now he's following suit. Pretty much the main thing Trump does when it comes to signing these orders. So Yeah, I don't know. I find that funny. I guess you could say the same thing about Trudeau. But hey, I didn't know that. Anyway, speaking of Carney signing things and just giving out more money, Carney pledges 150 million to boost the underfunded CBC. The underfunded CBC. Excuse me? Underfunded. Oh man. I don't know about that. I underfunded. They're like the biggest funded Canadian broadcasting news station, period. That's literally what they are. Radio Canada. Canadian broadcasting. I don't know if they're underfunded. I don't know about that one. And this is where that $150 million is going to. In 2 minutes, CBC insults Pierre Poilievre, mocks him, defends Carney's cabinet picks, and reminds us how unbiased they are. Yeah, unbiased.
And talking about how he would not be opposing the government reflexively, that he would do things in the best interest of the country and support the government in those issues, and that he says he wants the country to succeed. He then spent the next 15 minutes talking about all the ministers who were there previously and the things they did to ruin the country, naming particularly Sean Fraser and Stephen Guilbeault, taking some questions about how he will approach things inside the House of Commons. But overall, it started out in one tone and finished in another. That's all I'll say, because he leaned into attacking the people that he thinks still don't represent change, are still more of the Trudeau government, and particularly don't represent the things that he thinks Canadians want right now.
Yeah, cabinet is broken, is essentially what he said, right? It's no longer Canada's broken. He's saying this cabinet is not change. A silent approach from Mr. Poilievre, Rosie, that would suggest that it's almost as if he won the election rather than lost the election and lost his own seat. Talking about how he's going to stand there in defense of Canadians. He'll only be able to stand there, actually, in the chamber behind him, because of the goodwill of the Prime Minister, who's going to call an early by-election for Mr. Poilievre so he can run in one of his MP seats in Alberta at a cost of close to $2 million to have a by-election, all while he stays in Stornoway throughout this. So it's interesting that given that sequence of events and given those series of factors, that it was that kind of approach and response to things there from Mr. Poilievre. Going after Stephen Guilbeault, talking about the radical environmental agenda, blaming Sean Fraser for the housing crisis, which is... Sean Fraser's I don't think he's 40 yet, or he's just 40. I don't think he caused the housing crisis in Canada.
Not.
There's a whole bunch of layers and effects to that. But wanting to fight the same political battles we just endured during the 5 weeks of the campaign and for the 2 years leading up.
So that's where the $150 million for the underfunded CBC went to. Yeah, that's underfunded. Running hard defense for Carney's cabinet picks. I almost called them Cabney. I can't. Yeah, listen. It's half of Trudeau's cabinet. Half of it is the same. Freeland, LeBlanc, Jolie, Champagne, right? Anita Anand. There are so many cabinet members there that are the exact same. Sean Fraser was terrible as housing minister and immigration minister. I don't know how many times I need to mention the fact that they literally walked back the immigration policies at the end of Trudeau's reign as prime minister because they were so bad. And he was the head of it. They just shuffled these terrible ministers from one seat to another. Freeland is now she's the Minister of Transportation. She's going to run that, and she doesn't even own a vehicle. She doesn't drive. She's made that very clear. So she doesn't know what it's like for people to commute back and forth daily from a job, because she just doesn't have to do that. It's just pure insanity, the incompetence within this cabinet. And they're just sitting here defending it. They're defending Carney's picks as if it's this brand new, shiny, fresh cabinet. The veteran members of the cabinet are going to be leading the newer members into this entire House of Commons and beyond. That's how this is going to work. You have these veteran members there for a reason, because they have experience and they can teach and give that experience to the newer members. And to be quite honest with you, their experience has shown over the past 10 years, and it's not very good. It's just not. The overall economy, down. Housing, a disaster. Immigration, the highest it's ever been. And you see people lining up at food banks and job fairs. By the way, I have a couple of videos here of job fairs that we're going to look at, where it's just probably thousands of people. For as much as I know, the line is just stacked and goes around buildings with how many people there are lined up. People can't get jobs. People can't afford things. It's absolutely crazy right now. And like I said, Sean Fraser was the head of all that. Housing, immigration, and now he's just been switched around. Chrystia Freeland literally resigned and is back. Melanie Jolie out of touch with prices of groceries and is running another completely different department of the government. It's just a nightmare. And you can sit here and go, well, half of them are new. 50% of them are new. They're going to have new ideas, this, that, and the fourth. Sure, but how much are they really going to contribute to the cabinet over the veteran members? At least there's going to be some sort of seniority in the ranking. At least I would imagine. So, once again, we have a failure of a cabinet that is going to be teaching newcomers to these policies in this way of government. Sure, I'm sure some of them know how it works, but they've never been in cabinet before. They've never been in these minister positions. 50% of them are brand new, essentially. So just keep that in mind. Half of them new, don't really know what's going on. The other half experienced and don't really know what's going on. It's a nightmare. Moving onward, Guilbeault, in his first media scrum, comes out against new pipelines, claiming TMX is only at 40% capacity, oil demand will peak, and no developer who's interested in building an east-west pipeline at this time. So Carney sits there and says he wants to make Canada this energy superpower, that we're going to lead into the future being this dominant energy superpower, that we could sell our resources to X, Y, whatever. Looks like there's already some infighting with the cabinet here, because if we know how most of the Liberals think, they're against pipelines. They're against all of this stuff, unleashing the resources, the very things Pierre wanted to do, and now Carney is trying to adopt. The Liberal cabinet is against that.
Premier Smith says that she's still concerned that you're part of cabinet, and also the new selection of Mr. Buzyn for the environment minister. She says it's too close of a tie to you. What do you say in response to that?
I think we will have to agree to disagree with Premier Smith. We think that protecting the environment, fighting climate change is important. Lots of Canadians believe that as well. It was a central element of our platform, and we will make good on our commitments.
The Prime Minister last night on TV seemed to open the door to potentially changing the emissions cap or the IAA to get projects built. What do you think of what he said?
Well, these are important conversations that we will need to have in the coming weeks.
Premier Smith is saying that you're anti-pipeline still. What do you say in response to her concerns just broadly about the cabinet, and how do you deal with national unity? How do you address that right now?
So on pipelines, people should remember that we bought a pipeline, Trans Mountain, and that is only used right now about 40% capacity. So I think before we start talking about building an entire new pipeline, maybe we should maximize the use of existing infrastructure. And the Canadian Energy Regulator, as well as the International Energy Agency, are telling us that probably by 2028, 2029, demand for oil will peak globally, and it will also peak in Canada. So as far as I know, there are no investors right now. There are no companies that are saying that they want to build an east-west pipeline. And as you know, these things are built by companies, not governments.
Are you against the construction of pipelines in Canada? What I'm saying is that we already have an infrastructure in place that's not even at 50% capacity. So before we think about building new infrastructure, we should maximize the use of what already exists. And as I said to your colleague, the Canadian Energy Agency and the International Energy Agency. Yes, but the Prime Minister is saying, well, let's build pipelines, and you're pushing the brake on that. Well, what I'm saying is that the international and Canadian energy agencies are saying that demand for oil will peak by 2028, 2029, and there's no developer who's interested in building an east-west pipeline at this time.
That is just crazy to me. The Conservatives literally ran on building this pipeline. Like I said, Carney has now adopted this idea of building pipelines and making us a energy superpower, which most likely would include building another pipeline. If they're telling us that we're only at 50% capacity right now, then what are we doing? Why aren't we unleashing this resource 100%? Why aren't we thinking into the future if it is going to peak, air quotations, peak globally 2028, 2029? Why are we not fast tracking another pipeline so we can maximize profits at this time? It doesn't make any sense. The leadership here is insane. And going further into insanity, take a look at this lineup here, this job fair lineup in Toronto. It is literally the front of the building. It goes all the way down around this like patch of grass, back around here where the person is standing, and it wraps all the way down past this building here. Like, people are struggling big time to find jobs, and if we don't do something about bringing jobs back, along with at least capping immigration for a few years so we could figure something out here, because we keep bringing people in, we can't catch up. We can't build new houses for people to live in. Jobs aren't just growing on trees. You know what I mean? So we gotta do something here. There's got to be a significant change, and I just don't know if the Liberals are going to do it based on the cabinet members we currently have. I mean, they're already going against the pipeline issue. They're probably going to go against a lot of these other issues, especially if Mark Carney does try to adopt more of these conservative policies. I don't know. But he's, air quotations, signed a middle-class tax cut. So I don't know, guys. I don't know what's going on right now with this government. They're all over the place. They're scrambling to do things to try and make it seem like things are in motion, but they're clearly not all on the same page. I don't know. It's very strange. Moving onward to some United States news. Donald Trump was gifted a massive jumbo jet, $400 million jet or something like that from Qatar. Look, there's something in the Constitution apparently that says presidents can't receive gifts or something like that. I don't really personally care. I'm just looking at it from a security risk standpoint. Like I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, anything could be done to the plane. Not saying there is, to the YouTube manual reviewer or bot that is listening. I'm not saying that there's anything here, but numerous officials on both sides, Democratic and Republican, have come out and stated, like, this could be a little bit of a security risk, don't you think? I don't know. We don't know yet. We're going to have to rip this thing apart to the bones to make sure everything is okay. I don't know, though.
Clarify that Qatar is giving us a new Air Force One as a personal gift to President Trump. Are they gifting it to the country? What could you tell us about this luxury liner that looks like a hotel on the air?
Well, the Qatari government has graciously offered to donate a plane to the Department of Defense. The legal details of that are still being worked out, but of course, any donation to this government is always done in full compliance with the law, and we commit ourselves to the utmost transparency, and we will continue to do that.
Do you worry that if they give us something like this, they want something in return?
Absolutely not, because they know President Trump, and they know he only works with the interests of the American public in mind.
There you have it. And I mean, I don't think this is the exact plane, but it's pretty close to this. It's massive. It's huge. Like, holy crap. It's a Boeing 747-8 Jumbo. So that is pretty much what he was gifted. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. And the last thing I'm going to show here before we get into the Alberta Legislative Assembly is a massive blockchain crypto conference going on in Toronto right now. Massive companies from all around the world, or crypto companies all around, showing off a bunch of stuff. Like this place is massive. I think it's running for over a week. So just some random Toronto news, Bitcoin news, because why not? Here we go, guys. Question period has officially begun. So we're going to hop right into that.
Packages to fired AHS staff and board members amounted to almost $6 million last year. Imagine if every dollar wasted on corrupt care and severance packages was spent on rural health care, keeping hospital emergency rooms open, hiring OBGYNs and paying them what they're worth, recruiting and retaining more doctors, staff to operate equipment, and yes, blood clinics. What a great Alberta that would be. Rural Albertans deserve better than this government's indifference. They deserve an NDP government that understands rural communities need accessible, everyday health care close to home, not just directions to the nearest city.
Here, here.
Honourable members, it is 1:50, and that means it's time for oral question period. And the first question goes to the Leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Albertans are not being led by an ethical, competent government. On April 15th, the Premier said that she directed the Justice Minister to oversee what files the Auditor General received for his investigation into corrupt care. Later, we learned the Justice Minister is a personal friend and relative of Sam Raich, the owner of the company at the heart of the scandal. A friend and relative of the guy at the center of the scandal should not be the one overseeing and deciding which documents go to investigators. Why did the Premier fail to protect the integrity of these important investigations?
The Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, let me correct the record because the member opposite is wrong. What had happened was the Deputy Minister of Health made a decision to choose outside counsel to assist her in providing documents and interviews to the Auditor General. The Auditor General expressed concern about that, and so the Department of Justice stepped in to see if the DM had done anything wrong. It is still the DM of Health that is coordinating both the documents as well as the interviews, and it is the DM of Jobs Economy who is coordinating with the Auditor General as well as with Judge Wyand.
Honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, the Premier was quoted telling reporters she had asked her Justice Minister to look into it. And by the way, the DM for Justice reports to the Minister.
That's right.
The Premier's Justice Minister quietly sat in a clear conflict of interest. The Justice Minister's friend and relative made money on Turkish Tylenol. The Minister's friend and relative made money on faulty PPE. The Justice Minister's friend and relative stands to make tons of money from bloated surgical centre contracts. Will the Premier do the right thing today and fire the Justice Minister?
No. What I've seen consistently with the members opposite is they've used the privilege of this chamber to slander not only the people who sit in this chamber, but also friends and family members. And I think it should stop, Mr. Speaker. As I mentioned before, we've been very clear that anyone who was named in the former CEO's statement of claim has nothing to do with coordinating files, has nothing to do with coordinating interviews. This has been delegated to counsel at AHS, delegated to the Deputy Minister of Health, delegated to the Deputy Minister of Jobs Economy. If there's a process issue, that's when the Deputy Minister of Justice steps in, and only then, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member.
repeat where I started. Albertans deserve an ethical, competent government. And it is unethical for the Minister of Justice to have any role in oversight for this scandal. And it's scandalous of the Premier to have tasked him to do that. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been wasted here. 50 million sits in a bank account in Turkey while Albertans can't get it back because of this cabinet's incompetence. The Premier has repeatedly said these allegations are serious. Since she won't call a public inquiry, will she at least hold her minister responsible? He's the one who withheld information. Will she fire the Justice Minister today?
Honourable the Premier.
No one is withholding information from anyone. The Deputy Minister of Health is facilitating information. Last we heard, it was 13,000 records that had been transferred, facilitating interviews. The Deputy Minister of Jobs Economy is facilitating the same. And if there is any need for the Deputy Minister of Justice to make sure that processes are followed and the rules that govern the Auditor General's inquiries are followed, then that is the role of the Deputy Minister of Justice. So, Mr. Speaker, we are in full cooperation with both those investigations. We look forward to seeing the results very soon.
Point of order is noted at 1:55. Second set of questions, the Leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, today, 1 million Albertans can't find a family doctor. Today, we're in the midst of the worst measles outbreak the province has seen in modern times, 6 times worse than in other provinces. So what did the worst health minister in Alberta's history do? She put a gag order on the Chief Medical Officer of Health. She delayed rolling out his advice to ramp up vaccination programs by a year, back when prevention would have made a difference. And she did it all while firing the AHS CEO, firing the AHS board, dismantling public health care. Will the Premier fire the health minister today?
Honourable the Premier.
Well, Mr. Speaker, no. We've actually seen an increase in the number of people who've been attached to family doctors and nurse practitioners, and that's because of the great work of the health minister in refocusing our healthcare system. We have Recovery Alberta that's been fully operational since last year. Primary care became fully operational in February. Acute care is now up and running since April. And we've established Assisted Living Alberta, and we expect it to be fully operational in the fall. We announced activity-based funding for healthcare, which will support greater efficiency, and we've announced $330 million in funding for rural health facilities. This minister's doing a great job, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, Albertans are stuck waiting in pain for the surgeries and diagnostics they need under this Premier's watch. More Albertans are left waiting for surgery than when she became Premier. Last summer, only 70% of the surgeries were on target. This summer, 56%. That is a decrease. Nearly half of all surgeries are not on schedule, leaving patients waiting in agony. While handing bloated surgical contracts to UCP friends, wait times for surgeries have gotten worse. Will the Premier recognize how incompetent her health minister is, do the right thing, fire her today?
The Honourable Premier.
Well, Mr. Speaker, no. And maybe the members opposite will fire their incompetent research assistants because those are the ones giving them false information. We are on track to do 316,000 surgeries this year, Mr. Speaker. And it's because of the work that we've done in expanding the charter surgical facilities that is where the success is. We have seen more surgeries increase because of the charter surgical facilities, ones that they want to shut down, Mr. Speaker. If we had followed their advice, there'd be 2,000 fewer surgeries being done at ASG, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to leave people in pain, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, in urban and rural communities, families can't rely on getting timely care in Alberta emergency rooms.
That's right.
Last year, ER rooms were shuttered for more than 34,000 hours. So what's the minister doing instead of opening ERs? She's opening warehouses. She's storing endless pallets of Turkish Tylenol, even more expired PPE, and charging Albertans for the service. She can't even figure out how to donate the medicine to Ukraine. The minister can't run surgeries, can't open ERs, can't promote vaccines. Why won't the Premier fire the Minister of Health?
Here, here.
Premier.
I can tell you what the Minister discovered is that there hadn't been any investment in rural hospitals in 12 years. Oh, guess who could have fixed that when they were in government and chose not to and watched it go into disrepair? And listen to what this health minister has done. High River General Hospital renovations for pharmacy, Didsbury Hospital redevelopment. We've got Claresholm, Wetaskiwin, Olds, Westview, St. Paul, Peace River, Slave Lake, Lloydminster, High River, Crow's Nest, Raymond, Strathmore, Vulcan, Canmore, Oilfield Hospital, Okotoks, Wetaskiwin, Worsley, Barhead, Valley View, High Level, George McDougall, Bonnyville, Redwater, Hinton, and I almost ran out of time.
Third set of questions, the Honourable Leader of the Loyal Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, young men in this province want opportunities to build a life, but 1 in 5 cannot find a job. When this Premier took office, the rate was 11%. It's doubled under her watch. Wow. And she can't blame a higher minimum wage because they kept it frozen. Right. Overall unemployment has increased by 25% since she won her leadership, Mr. Speaker. Instead of creating jobs, she's been dining at Mar-a-Lago, fundraising for Ben Shapiro, calling Trump's job-killing tariffs a big win. Will the Premier apologize for unemployment skyrocketing under her watch?
Has this NDP member just been ignoring everything Carney's doing? Like, this is wild. And there's a lot of things you can blame on the federal level. Once again, bringing in tons of people when we are not able to catch up and support all these people that are coming in. Just a simple fact. It's insane. And healthcare across the board in this country is a nightmare. Once again, federal level.
The members opposite apologize for 13 quarters of out-migration that happened under their leadership when there were no opportunities and people were leaving and their energy minister was telling people to go get a job in British Columbia. We just surpassed 5 million people in our province, and the reason for that is people are coming here for opportunity. They're coming here because of jobs. We have the highest income as well as the lowest taxes of any jurisdiction, and we're going to continue to create jobs, continue to create opportunity, and not listen to the job-killing policies of the members across the aisle.
Mr. Speaker, it's this government that's the job killer, not a job creator. The Dow Net Zero petrochemical project is paused. Billions of renewable investment are gone. Our investment reputation is at risk because this Premier's priority this year, breaking up the...
Honourable members, let's let the member give the answer and let's listen to it. Carry on.
This Premier's priority is breaking up the country. She's so dedicated to this, she had draft legislation sitting in a desk, ready to introduce the second her preferred candidate lost the federal election. Why, when we should bringing down trade barriers, is this Premier dancing with separatism?
A point of order is noted at 2:01, Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The only clear loser in the last federal election were the party of the members opposite. I overstated it yesterday, Mr. Speaker. They didn't get 6.5% of the vote. They got 6.3% of the vote. So we can see why they're a little bit worried, because people know what this party would have to deliver if they ever had the misfortune of forming government again. I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, we are proud of our job creation record. In the past 12 months, we have increased jobs, and we were also responsible for 90% of the private sector job creation that took place in the entire country, Mr. Speaker. That's the record of this government.
Honourable member.
Skyrocketing youth unemployment under this government, failure to create jobs, failure to protect Albertans, failure to do her job. It's so bad her own team is losing confidence in her. She lost a trusted cabinet minister. He called out the corruption, denounced separatism. She lost a caucus member after a budget of cuts, chaos, and corruption. Thousands of public servants have just had a historic strike mandate. The government may be shut down because of them. To top it off, she's opened the gates to separatism. Will she admit she's not cut out for office? I'm really looking forward for Naheed Nenshi. Call them up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I find it hilarious that no one in the aisles opposite would step down for their leader in Calgary, where apparently he must be so unpopular that they had to run him in the safest seat in the province in order to get him into the chamber, and that will be happening soon, Mr. Speaker. I can tell you we are so proud of the fact that we passed a $75 billion budget. We have we've passed legislation as well for our emerging biogas industry. We've got a Care First auto insurance policy. Our compassionate interventions model is going to be the envy of the country. We've got the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act. So much more, Mr. Speaker. I can't even list all of the areas that we've had success.
The honourable member from Edmonton, Whitemud.
There are at least 4 ways the Minister of Justice might have a conflict of interest between his personal relationship with Sam Raich and his responsibilities with the corrupt care scandal. And there's one way that we know about for sure. On Monday, the government House Leader confirmed that when it comes to the unprecedented decision to hire an outside law firm to handle inquiries from the Auditor General, well, quote, Alberta Justice routinely handles all relationships with external counsel. This means the Minister of Justice is responsible for the decision to put a law firm between government employees and the Auditor General looking into contracts with the Minister's good friend and relative. That's a conflict. Will the Premier fire the Minister of Justice today?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I'm happy to answer this question on behalf of the government, as I have done many times up to this point, to reaffirm to members opposite, members on the government side and the general public, that there are 3 independent investigations happening concurrently with the Auditor General, a judicial inquiry, as well as with the RCMP. I have full confidence in all 3 of these bodies, in their independence of the organization, in their independence, as well as their ability to carry out a false investigation. I am curious why the members opposite don't feel the same.
The honourable member.
It's not a surprise that the Premier is incapable of recognizing a conflict of interest. Yep. After all, she has the distinction of being the only sitting Premier in Alberta's history to have been found to violate the Conflicts of Interest Act. And for what? Well, she inappropriately pressured her then Minister of Justice to interfere in prosecutions. It seems she didn't learn her lesson, because when it comes to the corrupt care scandal, the Premier told media she directed her current Minister of Justice to check in with the AG to see if the government can solve any errors. The same minister who has his own conflict of interest because the AG is investigating his best friend. Wow. I mean, the unethical conduct is mind-boggling. Enough already. Will the Premier fire the Minister of Justice now?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do find it a bit rich to hear the word competence coming from the members opposite. This is the same government that drove Albertans out of their own province. They told them to take a job in British Columbia outside of Alberta. This is the same government that had 6 consecutive credit downgrades, Mr. Speaker. This is 6. I repeat, 6. I know math is hard sometimes, but what I can tell you is counting to 6 isn't that difficult, but getting there, that's some kind of a record, Mr. Speaker. What I can also say is this is the same government from 2015 to 19 that attacked family farms.
The Honourable Member from Edmonton.
Speaking of rich, check out the Rolex on the minister's wrist. Political pressure to sign bloated contracts, shady land deals, contracts for useless PPE that Albertans are still paying to store, useless Turkish Tylenol, and another $50 million spent on nothing. All linked to the best friend of the Minister of Justice and the subject of multiple investigations. Yet he apparently never told the Premier about this relationship until last week. Either the Minister played the Premier for the fool by not telling her and not recusing himself, or the Premier knew and she's trying to play Albertans for the fool now. Either way, Albertans deserve better. Albertans deserve ethical, competent government now. The Premier must fire the Minister.
The Honourable, a point of order was noted at 2:06. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I guess the member opposite has poor eye for watches. I don't have a Rolex on. That's a bit ridiculous. But second off, this is the same government that attempted to destroy Alberta. They hate everything about this province. They even hate the electorate, Mr. Speaker, because this is the same electorate that rejected every single thing they did and made them the first one-term government in the history of this province. That's a real problem for them. I get it. They're upset. but maybe they should stick to the business of the day and not personal attacks.
The honourable member from Calgary, Boular-McCall.
Mr. Speaker, the government claims the Minister of Justice had no involvement in the ongoing investigation into his family member, Sam Moresh. But nothing can be further from the truth. On April 14th, the Minister of Justice stated, and I quote, "The Premier has asked and I have directed Justice officials to reach out to the Auditor General and make sure the interviews and the records are being complied with." The Minister of Justice himself admitted in this House that he is involved in the investigation. Why hasn't the Premier removed him?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the question from the members opposite. Of all members in this chamber, he would know about botched investigations, especially when it comes to Serenity. But, Mr. Speaker, what I can say is on this side of the House, we believe in independent investigations, specifically when it comes to the three bodies that are investigating this: Auditor General, the RCMP, and the Judicial Review. I'm not sure why the members opposite have such a conflict or an issue with the former Chief Justice of Manitoba. They are calling into question the integrity of a former Chief Justice of a province. Mr. Speaker, what is that?
Honourable member.
Given that the Premier is aware that the Minister of Justice is overseeing an investigation involving his own family member, and given that Premier said, and I quote, "I have asked my Justice Minister to ensure that the Auditor General has everything that he needs," end quote. Given that she is not just aware of it, she is enabling her Cabinet Minister to interfere in these investigations.
Yeah.
The Premier knows the Minister meddled in the investigation because she directed him to. Why won't she do the right thing and fire him?
Or maybe
A point of order is noted at 210. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And being this wrong so many times in a row has got to be some kind of a record. But saying it over and over and over again, does it make it true? Does it make it true? And every member in this House knows that we as elected officials, we do not investigate. We don't carry out investigations. And Mr. Speaker, the members opposite are being very fast and loose with the facts. Very fast, loose with the facts. And I wish that they get on the right page.
The Honourable Member.
Given that the Minister doubled down about his staff mediating the Auditor General investigation in a scrum, saying, and I quote again, "I have directed my justice officials to reach out to the AG's office as well," end quote. And given that the AG clearly stated that triaging what people and information he can access isn't helping him do his job,
correct,
will the Minister explain why he thinks it is appropriate to interfere in an investigation that include his own family member while he remains in this role?
Because that's not.
Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate to hear the member opposite disparage the public service. The public service simply was involved to make sure that everything was being supported and supplied as necessary. Again, it is disappointing to hear members opposite, a caucus that has several lawyers in there, but apparently not many of them quite understand the law. But with that said, it is unfortunate the members opposite continue to rail and malign the character of the Minister of Justice rather than focus on the important issues that Albertans care about, things like affordability, something we are focused on all day, every day.
Point of order is noted at 212, and the next question belongs to the Honourable Member from Red Deer South.
Mr. Speaker, today is a happy day for Alberta. We are amending the Citizen Initiative Act so that it is not a fake law. It is very good to listen to Albertans. Referendums are good for Alberta, but we do not want fake and disingenuous referendum petition thresholds that are impossible to meet. That was very bad. Petition thresholds should be difficult but achievable. To the Minister, why is this the better way?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to start by recognizing the honourable member for his good question. The citizen initiative process has been around for many years, Mr. Speaker, where if a citizen wants to put an important question on a ballot, they should be entitled to do so. The member is right. The number of signatures required to launch a petition should be difficult, but it should be achievable, Mr. Speaker. That's why we've lowered the threshold in Bill 54 to 10% of eligible voters and increased the amount of time to 120 days. All Albertans in this province should have the ability to have their voices heard.
Honourable member.
Given Ottawa is not the boss of Alberta, and given no special interest group, figurehead or talking head or activist judge is the boss of Alberta, and given neither this NDP or their mothership is the boss, and given the Alberta government is not the boss of Alberta, and given it is the bosses of this government and of Alberta who vote in referendums, to the minister, who are the bosses of Alberta?
The keeper of the Great Seal of Alberta.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Albertans are the bosses of Alberta. All members on this side of the House know that, Mr. Speaker, as we serve our constituents diligently. Albertans expect our elections to not only be fair, but free as well. Along with other democratic processes like citizen initiatives, we're introducing a number of different sweeping changes in Bill 54 to protect democracy, to make our elections free, to make them fair, to have them be conducted with integrity, Mr. Speaker. I'm very proud of this legislation. I know members on this side of the House are as well.
Honourable member.
Given referendums give Albertans a voice if politicians do not listen to them, and given referendums give Albertans the opportunity to decide priorities, and given referendums are a check and balance, and given referendums engage Albertans to participate in democratic processes, and given Alberta is the best, and referendums recognize Albertans are the boss of Alberta, to the minister, why are referendums very, very good for
the Honourable Minister?
Mr. Speaker, they are very good for Alberta because any Albertan can put forward a petition on any issue important to them. It is not, Mr. Speaker, as the NDP have tried to fearmonger in recent weeks about separation. I hear the member for Calgary, Bullar McCall, chirping. Yesterday I had said to him, look through this 144-page document. Find me one place where it mentions separation, Mr. Speaker. He could not. This is about allowing Albertans to be able to participate in the democratic process. It's about having them have their say, Mr. Speaker. It's about allowing Albertans to make decisions.
Order is noted at 2:16 p.m. And the next question goes to the member from Edmonton Meadows.
Mr. Speaker, Conservatives are terrible at handling the cost of living. Under this UCP government, we have seen costs go up and affordability go away. They have introduced 38 new fees, and insurance companies are hiking rates by 15%, while the UCP are taking away the right to sue. Can the minister explain exactly how price increases makes the life more affordable for Albertans?
Good question.
The Honourable President of Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, we're very focused on affordability. We know that this is still a priority for Albertans, a priority for all Canadians. Unfortunately, over the past few years, Canada hasn't made the economy and growing the economy a priority. That's why I'm happy to see that even in some of the language from our new Prime Minister, it's focused on growing the economy of the entire country. He's talking about pipelines. He's talking about having the most robust economy in the entire G7. That's where we need to get to have wage growth, more jobs, and hopefully we can continue to be.
Honourable member.
Given that UCP's poor performance and affordability doesn't end at auto insurance, but that utilities are yet another aspect of everyday life that Albertans cannot afford, And given that UCP's response to this crisis was to set their rate of last resort at nearly double the market average. How does this minister justify letting utility costs getting so expensive for Albertans?
The Honourable Minister of Affordability.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very proud to be part of a government that takes affordability and the lives of Albertans very seriously. We worked across every ministry. I'm proud to stand with our finance minister who brought in a tax cut, saving every family working household at least $750 a year every year that it's in place. I'm very proud to be part of a government that supported changes to our electricity system to stabilize it and bring electricity prices down 63% from the peak they were. We are making the reforms that we need to make, fixing the messes the NDP left behind, and making sure that we're putting Albertans first.
Here, here. Honourable member.
Given that grocery costs are only skyrocketing, with Food Banks Canada reporting Albertans saw a 90% increase in dependency on food banks over the last 5 years. And given that groceries are so unaffordable that parents decide between sending their kids to school with either an apple or an orange because they cannot afford to have both. How is this government making life more affordable when auto insurance, utilities and grocery bills and cost of living are only increasing?
This is just brutal. He's literally using federal level, I don't even know, script or this whatever is on that paper. This is pretty much what Jagmeet and the NDP would have said. I just, like, do the NDP even care? Like, what are they doing at this point? It's wild. They should just step down. They honestly don't do anything. It's insane how they stand up there and repeat the same 5 things over and over again. And they do it provincially and on federal level as well. They don't change the questions they ask. They don't change what they are, the policies they want to implement. It's just across the board. The exact same thing. Every province has a different infrastructure or economy or a backbone, you could say. And they just use federal arguments across the board. Like, I don't know at this point. It's just such a waste of time for the NDP to stand up there and speak. That's just truly what it feels like at this point.
The Honourable Minister of Seniors, Community and Social Services.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to be part of a government under the leadership of this Premier. This is the only government in history that has actually invested provincial money in food banks. Mr. Speaker, the former minister, my little brother, invested in food banks, as have we, Mr. Speaker. But at the same time, we've continued to make life more affordable for Albertans. And the number one thing we did, Mr. Speaker, was we got rid of the NDP carbon tax, Mr. Speaker, that was making life more expensive. And, Mr. Speaker, we led the fight across the country to finally get the federal government to get rid of the carbon tax, Mr. Speaker, despite the fact that the NDP continued to fight each and every day to keep that damaging tax on the people of Alberta, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Lethbridge West.
This government claims Alberta Coal Modernization Initiative will ban open pit mining in the foothills and keep selenium out of our water. It will prohibit mountaintop removal mining and require any new mining must use techniques that prevent adding selenium to waterways. Albertans remain skeptical. They've seen the realities with Teck and BC, who have spent billions to remove selenium from water and failed. They know the coal is under the mountaintops and the best way to get at it is to dig it out. To the Minister of Energy, what is the difference between mountaintop removal mining and open pit mining?
The Honourable Minister of Energy.
I thank the member for the question. Mr. Speaker, Albertans are very curious and are concerned, and that's why they know that this government is going to do a better job than the former NDP government was trying to do, Mr. Speaker, and certainly better than the BC government is doing with coal mining in BC, Mr. Speaker. Yep. What Albertans really want to know is where's no-show Nenshi, Mr. Speaker? They've been looking everywhere for him, Mr. Speaker, and you know, we've seen him in the past. He's been wearing a Calgary jersey, he's been wearing an Edmonton jersey, and now he's wearing a Winnipeg jersey, Mr. Speaker. We don't know where he is, Mr. Speaker. We're asking if he could actually show up for work, because I know Albertans need him, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member.
Given that the minister obviously didn't hear my first question, given that there's no difference between mountaintop removal and open pit mining, given that even Montem Resources has asked for the distinction to be rescinded because the only way they can extract their coal is through open pit mining, given that no matter how you get at it, the coal is under the mountaintop, which would need to be removed. Given that the minister has also referred to high wall mining as a solution for this conundrum, can you explain how high wall mining is different from open pit mining?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Minerals.
I appreciate the question, Mr. Speaker, but what we do over on this side of the House is we actually let experts decide on these types of things. If he goes to the website of the AER, he can clearly see the definitions, and I know they've been having problems with it, Mr. Speaker. I know they're not prepared to be educated by experts, but go on the AER website, use this new tool on a computer called Google, and put in your website search engine, Mr. Speaker, and they can find exactly the definitions they're interested in. What I can tell them, Mr. Speaker, is we're going to do the job right. We're going to protect air, we're going to protect humans, we're going to protect water, Mr. Speaker, because water is life, and we're certainly not going to take any lessons from them or their cousins in BC on what to do with coal mining.
There's this little thing called Google. That was great.
Given that high wall mining involves mining coal seams of an open pit mine, meaning there needs to be an open pit before high wall mining can begin. Given that high wall mining is a method used when surface mining has reached its technical limits, and given that although high wall mining still contaminates water and is restricted by the depth of the coal seam, it all starts with an open pit. To the minister, if there's no open pit mining and there's no technical way to extract Eastern Slopes coal without it, does he agree that there cannot be any open pit coal mining on the Eastern Slopes?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, we're going to do a great job on protecting Albertans, the water, the air, the animals, human life. But, Mr. Speaker, what Albertans want to know is he started off with Calgary, then he went to Edmonton, then he went to Winnipeg, he went Liberal, he went to NDP, then he went Liberal, maybe Alberta Party in there, Mr. Speaker. Now, if you go, apparently if you go orange, purple, and red, Mr. Speaker, it makes this ucky-looking brown color, Mr. Speaker. I'm just concerned about that generally, and I think Albertans want to know, what does he actually stand for, Mr. Speaker? We just want to know before going into the summer break, and I'd really like to know too, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the next question, the Honourable Member from Vermilion, Lloydminster, Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As Alberta grows, access to sustainable water for municipalities, businesses, and agriculture becomes increasingly important. Our water management system has served us well, but with shifting weather conditions and rising demand, updates to the Water Act are necessary. Alberta's water system needs to balance environmental needs, economic development, and the well-being of communities. Can the Minister of Environment and Protected Areas provide an overview of the proposed amendments to the Water Act and explain how they will ensure more sustainable water availability for all Albertans?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for that important question. Communities, farms, and industries across our province are growing, Mr. Speaker, and we want to make sure that they have the water they need to support that growth. We've heard from Albertans that the Water Act generally is working well, but there are, of course, some things that we can improve. So we are looking for feedback on changes to simplifying and speeding up decisions, even more than we already have, making water use information more transparent to the public and those who want to invest here, allowing lower risk interbasin transfers where it's safe to do that, and improving how we use and manage water, all of the water that Alberta receives.
Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that the first phase of engagement revealed a demand for improved water storage, conservation and efficiency, especially in rural areas, and given that streamlining regulatory decisions is a critical step, but rural municipalities, agriculture producers, and industries that depend on water require tailored solutions. Can the Minister explain how these amendments will meet the needs of rural communities and industries, ensuring their concerns are addressed while promoting a more sustainable and efficient water management system?
The Minister of Environment and protected areas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Our department has already sped up Water Act approvals by close to 60%. That's great news for those looking to invest here. Yeah. New agribusinesses, food processing plants, and industries are looking to come to our province. We want to make sure that they have the water to support that growth, but also protect the water that farmers, ranchers, and all communities across the province need. Our government is already investing in expanding water storage. Work is underway on the Bow River, Ardley, and Airmore reservoirs, and we're improving how information is collected about water use and making it easier to amend licenses. More to come, but this will absolutely support those in rural Alberta.
The honourable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that many Albertans are concerned about maintaining fairness of the first-in-time, first-in-right, or fit-first system, which has been a cornerstone of water allocation, and given that proposed changes such as enabling interbasin transfers and water reuse offer potential solutions to water scarcity, can the minister further elaborate on how the proposed amendments will preserve the fit-first system's integrity while introducing flexibility to support sectors facing water access challenges, particularly in areas of high demand or scarcity?
Honourable member, honourable minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. What we've heard is that our priority system has largely been working well for the last 100 years, and with all of the uncertainty that folks are seeing, Mr. Speaker, they would like to value stability in that first-in-time, first-in-right system. So we're not looking at large-scale changes to allocations, new royalties, or volumetric pricing for water at this time. But what we are looking at is practical common sense changes, like making it easier for Albertans to collect and use rainwater and stormwater, providing flexibility for water users to manage their operations within their approved allocations. Mr. Speaker, we're going to take a common sense approach.
Okay, the honourable member from Edmonton, Rutherford.
On May 1st, the Premier received a cease and desist letter from the chiefs of the First Nations of Alberta, calling on the Premier to immediately stop her harmful separatist agenda attacking inherent and treaty rights. The chiefs were clear they want Bill 54 scrapped. As Chief Tuckero stated, it's garbage, end quote. Why hasn't the Premier listened to the chiefs of Alberta and scrapped her, quote, garbage Bill 54?
The Honourable Minister of Indigenous Relations.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And, you know, we respect the chiefs and we listen very closely to them. And I've been having many conversations over the last few days about some things we could do. And the non-abrogation clause is probably something we could be looking at. And it's important to the chiefs, and so it's important to us. And we'll be looking at some ways that we can work more closely together with them on this.
Honourable member.
What a strange comment to make.
Well, given that the Premier self-identifies as being of Cherokee, she must clearly understand how to listen to elders, how to respect chiefs, how to uphold inherent and treaty rights. But given that the Premier responded to the chiefs with an insulting, condescending letter begging them to go to Ottawa to fix her problem that she's made, would suggest otherwise. To the Premier, how does she not see how her response letter desecrates this government's relationship with First Nations leadership?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you for the question. It's been such an honour working with all the chiefs across the province, Mr. Speaker. I've become great friends with them, and to understand that they're hurting right now, it makes me hurt, and I want to work with them. And we've done so many great things together, like programs like our Community Support Fund program to support missing murdered Indigenous women. And you'll see us wearing the moose hide patch today for men to stand up against violence towards Indigenous women. And we just did a great meeting the other day working. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Great job.
Chiefs from Treaty 6, 7, and 8 and citizens will hold a peaceful demonstration on the steps of the legislature tomorrow afternoon to protest against this government's separatist agenda and the attack on inherent and sovereign rights. And given that I was asked to invite the Premier to attend on the condition that she abandons her harmful separatist rhetoric and finally scrap her dangerous Bill 54 before it becomes law. Will the Premier accept these terms, scrap the garbage Bill 54, and attend the peaceful demonstration to speak to Albertans and treaty chiefs?
The The Honourable Minister of Justice and the Keeper of the Greats.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We've said time and again that Alberta government is absolutely committed to protecting, upholding and honouring the rights of First Nations, Métis and Inuit peoples in this province. Mr. Speaker, any citizen-led referendum must be constitutional. We've made that abundantly clear. But we've also said, Mr. Speaker, that we respect and we honour the concerns of the First Nations communities. That's exactly why later on today, Mr. Speaker, I will be introducing an amendment in this Assembly. I've said that to the member opposite multiple times. The members opposite know full well. Enough with the fear-mongering, Mr. Speaker.
The member from the outstanding constituency of Olds Didsbury.
Mr. Speaker, in the outstanding constituency of Olds Didsbury Three Hills, every spring farmers invest in seeds and fertilizer to make the crops grow, just like our government invests in infrastructure and the future of our province to make this province grow. With new schools and innovative projects, we reap the benefits of that growth. The government has invested millions of dollars in Olds College. To the Minister of Advanced Education, please inform this House of what that incredible investment has done for the outstanding constituency of Olds.
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Member for that question. Last week, I was pleased to join the Honourable Member at Olds College to announce a $63 million investment over 3 years for the expansion of the W.J. Elliott Building. This expansion will create 440 new apprenticeship seats, as well as 100 new dual credit seats. Since 2019, we have also provided Olds College with almost $200 million in operating grants and over $27 million in CMR funding. I want to thank the member for his incredible advocacy on behalf of his constituents over the last...
The Honourable Member.
Given, Mr. Speaker, that investing in rural Alberta is a long-standing government policy of this side of the House, and given that in Acme, Alberta, our government is building a rural centre of training excellence in conjunction with a new high school there, to the Minister of Education, why are these investments important, and why is giving students in rural Alberta training opportunities in rural Alberta keeping rural Alberta vibrant?
The Honourable Minister of Education.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for the very important question. Indeed, as he mentioned, investing in rural Alberta is a long-time priority of our government. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, this is a very unique opportunity in Acme, as he's mentioned. Part of the reason that we want to ensure there's adequate education and training opportunities in rural Alberta is so that we can grow talent right at home, is so that students and individuals can find the training opportunities that they need, contribute to their local community and local economy right from home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member.
Well, given, Mr. Speaker, that rural Alberta is the backbone of the Alberta economy and is literally where it all begins. And given that no government in Alberta's history has had a better grasp on the importance of rural Alberta than this one, to the Minister of Transportation and Economic Corridors, what are your favorite investments to make in rural Alberta?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Corridors.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's hard to pick just one, but Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to say that the Honourable Member was one of the first people to support me in my by-election in 2018, but it took him 2,499 days, or 6 years, 10 months, and 3 days to actually ask me a question in this House. But during those years, Mr. Speaker, the NDP lost not just one, but 2 elections, Mr. Speaker, but I would be happy to talk about all the great work we're doing in the outstanding members riding in Olds Didsbury Three Hills, Mr. Speaker. Mountain View County in this last provincial budget got $3.5 million for a critical water project, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Calgary, Beddington.
Unlike
wine and cheese, schools do not age well. HVAC systems wear out, plumbing starts to leak, electrical systems malfunction. Forget about preventative maintenance because school boards can only afford to operate in crisis mode when it comes to their aging schools. 70% of Edmonton public schools are 50 years or older. The estimated cost to modernize Edmonton public schools that need updating is $900 million. Total deferred maintenance is over $1 billion. How is the minister planning to fund the maintenance the school board needs?
The Honourable Minister of Education.
Mr. Speaker, we've made important investments in Budget 25 that will help address maintenance needs of our school divisions. In addition to that, of course, we've also announced one of the largest school construction programs in Alberta history. And through that program, we will be initiating a number of different projects to modernize and/or fully replace aging infrastructure in many corners of our province. That's in addition to the almost 100 new schools that we aim to build as a consequence of that project. Mr. Speaker, we are taking the necessary action to make sure that our schools are there for our kids.
Honourable Member.
Given that the CBE is another school board with $1 billion in deferred maintenance, given that school boards can only MacGyver their way through so many repairs before crumbling infrastructure will need to be replaced, given that every year the CBE spends $10 million more on maintenance than the UCP government provides, what exactly does the minister suggest this school board do to make up the funding shortfall, or is the minister just okay with Calgary schools falling into disrepair?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the situation is not as the member articulates and tries to draw attention to. But of course, we understand that that's the typical NDP approach, of course, is to spread fear and misinformation. Now, there's no question that we have a lot of schools that are older schools, and we are working with our school divisions to provide funding to help them address their maintenance and repair needs. And as I just mentioned a moment ago, Mr. Speaker, an $8.6 billion commitment to build new schools, modernize and replace schools that need to be.
Yeah. Honourable Member.
Given that the UCP has failed to maintain the schools Albertans have, pushing the problem off for a future competent government to manage, given that the UCP has failed to build the schools Albertans need, packing kids into classrooms until they're bursting at the seams, given that the UCP has failed in the most basic requirements to open a school, forgetting to check if there's things like road access, is the minister waiting for component failure to become the norm, or does he plan to start funding school maintenance appropriately?
Minister.
Of course not, Mr. Speaker. And as I mentioned a moment ago, we are providing maintenance funding to our school boards for them to manage, and we are providing a significant investment to build and modernize new schools. But the member opposite and the NDP want to talk about competent government. I'm happy to talk about the NDP, Mr. Speaker, all day, because when they were in government, they drove Albertans out of the province. In fact, they even went so far as to tell them to leave Alberta. They drove away billions of dollars of investment and significantly impacted our economic strength, but thankfully we've reversed that and got things back on the right track.
The Honourable Member from Calgary, Elbow.
Mr. Speaker, in amongst all the stealth tax increases the UCP's brought in, snuggled in between the bracket creep and the real estate transfer fee and the $2,400 disability benefit clawbacks tax increase and the $250 tax increase for every Calgarian with a roof over their head, they also snuck in an increase on the wine sales tax. Yep. Not on beer or hard alcohol, just on wine. My Calgary Elbow constituents are up in arms. Can the minister explain why he discriminatorily raised taxes on wine and only on wine?
Honourable Minister of Service Alberta and Red
Thank you,
Tape
Mr.
Reduction.
Speaker. In fact, that's not true. We took a look at the markup system, Mr. Speaker, to bring in more transparency, more fairness. And yeah, there were some categories that went up. There were some categories that went down a little bit. Mr. Speaker, we also introduced an ad valorem wine on high-end wines. So we certainly haven't experienced that on this end of the House, but I'm sure obviously it happens over there a lot. Yeah, it's a small tax, Mr. Speaker. It's about 40 cents on a $25 bottle of wine.
Honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, given that I've talked to constituents in the wine business who have product out on the water right now that they won't be able to sell because this wine tax increase came with zero consultation or warning, and given restaurants already struggling with high costs were blindsided and will face massive impacts to their profitability, and while the large, powerful multinational beer and spirit companies now enjoy a competitive advantage gifted to them by this government, does this government fomenting a national unity crisis start with cheap bourbon and economic warfare against Okanagan wines?
The Minister.
Mr. Speaker, again, the ad valorem tax on high-end wine is less than 40 cents on a $25 a bottle of wine. It is not a light your hair on fire moment, Mr. Speaker. But here's what I will say. Since we've come to government, we've reduced corporate taxes, we've cut red tape, we've created a business-friendly environment, and we've created more private sector jobs in this province than the rest of the country, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'm so glad the minister has given such a great clip to my stakeholders. Given that wine drinkers shouldn't be left to clean up the fiscal mess the UCP keeps overseeing, and given that cheap commodity wines imported from the U.S. are exempt from the wine sales tax increase, and given that more expensive Canadian wines are disproportionately impacted by the UCP's tax on wine and fun, how can the UCP claim to be playing on Team Canada when they increase taxes disproportionately on Canadian wines?
Good question.
Speaker, this ad valorem tax that we put on high-end wine actually applies to only 18% of wine sold in this province. So again, 18%. This is not a light your hair on fire moment, Mr. Speaker. But let me tell you this: we have cut red tape over 34%. We've saved job creators $3 billion, and we're bringing in automatic yes to speed up the time frame for permit approvals. Mr. Speaker, we will have an investment-friendly province that focuses on job creation for Albertans.
Honourable members, in 30 seconds, preferably less, we will continue with the day's agenda.
Alrighty, I believe that brings us to the end of question period. That was quite the little time there. We have some interesting news coming out here before I head out. Should home prices go down? No, says Canada's new housing minister. Well, it looks like the Carney Trudeau Liberals are starting off strong. My God. Well, guys, I'm going to leave it there with that little tidbit. I want to thank everybody who has joined me today for another NPC update. So, that's going to wrap it up. Have a great rest of your day or night, depending on where you are from. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the sub button if you're new. And I will see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.